The Kabbalah, the secret doctrine of Israel. Albert Pike, quoting from Transcendental Magic, thus sums up the importance of Kabbalism as a key to Masonic esotericism. One is filled with admiration on penetrating into the sanctuary of the Kabbalah, at seeing a doctrine so logical, so simple, and at the same time so absolute. The necessary union of ideas and signs, the consecration of the most fundamental realities by the primitive characters. The trinity of words, letters, and numbers. A philosophy simple as the alphabet, profound and infinite as the word. Theorems more complete and luminous than those of Pythagoras. A theology summed up by counting on one's fingers. An infinite which can be held in the hollow of an infant's hand. 10 ciphers and 22 letters, a triangle, a square, and a circle, these are all the elements of the Kabbalah. These are the elementary principles of the written word, reflection of that spoken word that created the world. Morals and dogma. Hebrew theology was divided into 3 distinct parts. The first was the law, the second was the soul of the law, and the third was the soul of the law. The law was taught to all the children of Israel. The Mishnah, or the soul of the law, was revealed to the rabbins and teachers. But the Kabbalah, the soul of the law, was cunningly concealed, and only the highest initiates among the Jews were instructed in its secret principles. According to certain Jewish mystics, Moses ascended Mount Sinai 3 times, remaining in the presence of God 40 days each time. During the first 40 days the tables of the written law were delivered to the prophet. During the second 40 days he received the soul of the law. And during the last 40 days God instructed him in the mysteries of the Kabbalah, the soul of the law. Moses concealed in the first 4 books of the Pentateuch the secret instructions that God had given him, and for centuries students of Kabbalism have sought therein the secret doctrine of Israel. As the spiritual nature of man is concealed in this physical body, so the unwritten law, the Mishnah and the Kabbalah, is concealed within the written teachings of the Mosaic Code. Kabbalah means the secret or hidden tradition, the unwritten law, and according to an early rabbi, it was delivered to man in order that through the aid of its abstruse principles he might learn to understand the mystery of both the universe about him and the universe within him. The origin of Kabbalism is a legitimate subject for controversy. Early initiates of the Kabbalistic mysteries believe that its principles were first taught by God to a school of his angels before the fall of man. The angels later communicated the secrets to Adam, so that through the knowledge gained from an understanding of its principles fallen humanity might regain its lost estate. The angel Raziel was dispatched from heaven to instruct Adam in the mysteries of the Kabbalah. Different angels were employed to initiate the succeeding patriarchs in this difficult science. Tephiel was the teacher of Shem, Raphael of Isaac, Metatron of Moses, and Michael of David. See Faiths of the World. Christian D. Ginsburg has written from Adam it passed over to Noah, and then to Abraham, the friend of God, who emigrated with it to Egypt, where the patriarch allowed a portion of this mysterious doctrine to ooze out. It was in this way that the Egyptians obtained some knowledge of it, and the other Eastern nations could introduce it into their philosophical systems. Moses, who was learned in all the wisdom of Egypt, was first initiated into it in the land of his birth, but became most proficient in it during his wanderings in the wilderness, when he not only devoted to it the leisure hours of the whole 40 years, but received lessons in it from one of the angels. Moses also initiated the 70 elders into the secrets of this doctrine, and they again transmitted them from hand to hand. Of all who formed the unbroken line of tradition, David and Solomon were most initiated into the Kabbalah. See the Kabbalah. According to Eliphaz Levi, the 3 greatest books of Kabbalism are the Sefer Yetzirah, the Book of Formation, the Sefer HaZohar, the Book of Splendor, and the Apocalypse, the Book of Revelation. The dates of the writing of these books are by no means thoroughly established. Kabbalists declare that the Sefer Yetzirah was written by Abraham. Although it is by far the oldest of the Kabbalistic books, it was probably from the pen of the Rabbi Akiba, AD 120. The Sefer HaZohar presumably was written by Simeon ben Jokai, a disciple of Akiba. Rabbi Simeon was sentenced to death about AD 161 by Lucius Verus, co-regent of the Emperor Mark Aurelius Antoninus. He escaped with his son and, hiding in a cave, transcribed the manuscript of the Zohar with the assistance of Elias, who appeared to them at intervals. Simeon was 12 years in the cave, during which time he evolved the complicated symbolism of the greater face and the lesser face. While discoursing with disciples, Rabbi Simeon expired, and the lamp of Israel was extinguished. His death and burial were accompanied by many supernatural phenomena. The legend goes on to relate that the secret doctrines of Kabbalism had been in existence since the beginning of the world, but that Rabbi Simeon was the first man permitted to reduce them to writing. 1200 years later the books which he had compiled were discovered and published for the benefit of humanity by Moses Dalla. The probability is that Moses Dalla himself compiled the Zohar about AD 1305, drawing his material from the unwritten secrets of earlier Jewish mystics. The Apocalypse, accredited to Saint John the Divine, is also of uncertain date, and the identity of its author has never been satisfactorily proved. Because of its brevity and because it is the key to Kabbalistic thought, the Sefer Yetzirah is reproduced in full in this chapter. So far as is known, the Sefer HaZohar has never been completely translated into English, but it can be obtained in French. S. L. MacGregor Mathers translated 3 books of the Zohar into English. The Zohar contains a vast number of philosophical tenets, and a paraphrase of its salient points is embodied in this work. Insert. The 72 Names of God. From Kircher's Oedipus Iptychus. This rare cut shows the name of God in 72 languages inscribed upon the petals of a symbolic sunflower. Above the circle are the 72 powers of God according to the Hebrew Kabbalah. Below 2 trees, that on the left bearing the symbols of the planets and that on the right the signs of the zodiac and the names of the tribes of Israel. The esoteric doctrines of the Kabbalah are in alignment with the secret teachings of all the schools of philosophy, but the method by which its secrets are revealed to the wise and concealed from the ignorant is most unusual. As the religious world interprets its scriptures with 20th-century educational facilities, it becomes ever more apparent that the sacred books were not historical documents, but that the kings, sages, prophets, and saviors whom Bible students have revered for ages as once existing personalities are in reality only personified attributes of man himself. Continued. Few realize the influence exerted by Kabbalism over medieval thought, both Christian and Jewish. It taught that there existed within the sacred writings a hidden doctrine which was the key to those writings. This is symbolized by the cross keys upon the papal crest. Scores of learned minds begin to search for those arcane truths by which the race should be redeemed. And that their labor was not without its reward, their subsequent writings have demonstrated. The theories of Kabbalism are inextricably interwoven with the tenets of alchemy, Hermeticism, Rosicrucianism, and Freemasonry. The words Kabbalism and Hermeticism are now considered as synonymous terms covering all the arcana and esotericism of antiquity. The simple Kabbalism of the first centuries of the Christian era gradually evolved into an elaborate theological system, which became so involved that it was next to impossible to comprehend its dogma. The Kabbalists divided the uses of their sacred science into 5 sections. The natural Kabbalah was used solely to assist the investigator in the study of nature's mysteries. The analogical Kabbalah was formulated to exhibit the relationship which exists between all things in nature, and it revealed to the wise that all creatures and substances were one in essence, and that man, the little universe, was a replica in miniature of God, the great universe. The contemplative Kabbalah was evolved for the purpose of revealing through the higher intellectual faculties the mysteries of the celestial spheres. By its aid the abstract reasoning faculties cognized the measureless planes of infinity and learned to know the creatures existing within them. The astrological Kabbalah instructed those who studied its lore in the power, magnitude, and actual substance of the sidereal bodies, and also revealed the mystical constitution of the planet itself. The 5th, or magical Kabbalah, was studied by such as desired to gain control over the demons and subhuman intelligences of the invisible worlds. It was also highly valued as a method of healing the sick by talismans, amulets, charms, and invocations. The Sefer Yetzirah, according to Adolf Frank, differs from other sacred books in that it does not explain the world and the phenomena of which it is the stage by leaning on the idea of God or by setting